Hello, dear ladies. We are in part 2 of our message on self-control and moderation, the bright gems in our husband's crown. So today I'm going to talk about self-control and moderation in shopping. And as we all know, shopping has become a popular, fun activity for American women. You know, that's the way they spend time in their lives these days. They just go shopping. And unfortunately, many women, they do not even give a thought to hundreds and hundreds of dollars they just mindlessly spend on vain things that they don't even need. And then when they come home, you know, they crash and burn, so to say, and have the buyer's remorse, but hundreds of dollars have been mindlessly spent, correct? They wander for hours in the mall, you know, time is wasted, they feel drained at the end, and it just leads to nowhere. And it seems like many women, once it comes to shopping, they put aside every conviction about moderation, about self-control. They almost like lose all guard, they put all guard down, they just lose it. And one of the reasons is because we are constantly bombarded by every sale, by every promotion, by every coupon imaginable, to desire more and more, to hunger for more and more. So, the question arises, are we as Christian women any different from the women of the world that lose their minds when they shop? Are we as Christian women any different? The temptation to want more and to be discontent is all around us. It is so heavy. You can almost slice it with a knife. It is thick, it is heavy. It pushes upon us from every side. The lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes are very real. These are real temptations. And there is not a woman who is not touched by it in some way or another. You are touched by it, and I am touched by it. I am not immune to it yet. We are all touched by this temptation to some degree. The question is, how are we pushing back? This is what I'm challenging for you to pause and consider today, and challenging myself. How are we pushing back? Are we pushing back? What are we doing about this? How are we dealing with this temptation? What are our strategies to protect ourselves and our families from this religion of materialism? This is a religion. People worship stuff all around us, correct? So, how are we guarding our families, our children, the women we disciple? How are we guarding our families from this religion of materialism? We have to be on guard. We have to have a strategy, correct? This is an extremely serious issue. Or maybe the fact is that you have been converted into this religion and you have been blinded by materialism. So we're challenging ourselves today and examining our hearts if we have been converted into this religion of materialism. Let us ask ourselves a couple of thought-provoking questions. Once again, this is all about pausing, thinking, and considering before the Lord, examining our lives and examining our hearts. Is your home overflowing with impulsively purchased items that just collect dust here and there? It's crowded, it's stuffed with stuff that you have impulsively purchased. Is your children's room, if you have any children, so stuffed with toys you cannot even see the floor? And by the way, I've been to a house like that once where the child's room was so stuffed with stuff, clothes, toys, games, that the child didn't actually even use the room because she couldn't sleep on the bed because it had piles and piles of toys and stuff piled upon it. So she had to sleep with her parents. So that room was not even used because it actually became a storage room for junk, basically. Is your children's room so stuffed with toys and stuff that you cannot even see the floor? Once you've been to a house, like I mentioned, I've once been to a house like that, and it was just devastating to see. Another question to ask ourselves: have you been excusing yourself with empty excuses every time you buy another vain, empty toy for your children that they don't even need? And by the way, I'll give you a little nugget here, that maybe your children are not playing with all of those toys that they have hundreds and hundreds of, because there are too many of them, so they cannot single out one toy that is special, that really strikes their attention and imagination. Nothing grabs their imagination. Their imagination is scattered. There are too many of those toys that you think are actually supposed to stir up their imagination, and but in fact it's doing a complete opposite. So ask yourself question: do they have too much stuff? Nothing is really special for them anymore. Another question to ask ourselves is, have you and I, my dear sister, lost control and do not even know where the healthy limit is for the stuff that we possess, for the toys that we buy for our children? How do you teach your children to exercise self-control and moderation when you shop? Ask that question. When you shop, are you an example to them? If you like something, do you just mildly run to that item and buy it, no matter the cost, no matter, even if you need it, you just spark, for a second. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes is an action at that moment, correct? Have you been a good example of these priceless virtues, which is self-control and moderation, to your children, to people around you? Have you been a good example? If you're wasteful, your children will be wasteful. If you do not exemplify self-control and moderation, how can they, correct? Where else will they learn this? Where else will they see how it actually operates in life? You cannot just sit down and give them a lesson on self-control and moderation. They need to see it, exemplify it in real life. How does it work? They need to see it, how it works, correct? Remember, the Proverbs 31 woman, her husband had no lack of gain having her as his wife. And one of those no lack of gain principles was that she was not wasteful. She did not waste family resources. In fact, she contributed to the welfare of the family by working from her home, correct? What do we read here? Proverbs 31:11, fabulous verse, fabulous verse. And I will give you some really, really incredible pearls of wisdom here. Proverbs 31:11, the heart of her husband does safely trust in her. And that word safely trust in her means, I'm giving you the definition, feels confident, secure, careless, relies upon. And obviously, we pause here and we ask ourselves as wives the question, does my husband feel confident in me? Is he secure in me and the way I handle family finances? Is he careless? He doesn't even have to worry about that I will go and waste hundreds and hundreds of dollars mindlessly for vain things that will give me a spark of pleasure, maybe for a second, maybe for 10 minutes, correct? So these are the questions that we are asking ourselves. Challenging questions. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her so that he will have no need of spoil. What does that mean? That he will have no lack. That word, no need of spoil, or spoil means lack, need, empty, cause to lack or fail. Are you causing your husband to lack? Are you causing your husband to be empty? Are you causing your husband to experience lack or fail by being wasteful? These are all challenging questions, correct? And you might say, I'm not wasteful, and praise God if you're not. So pass this wisdom to other women around you. Disciple a younger woman in all these truths, especially if she's not married, that when she does get married, all this can be a reality of her life, that she will exercise self-control, that she will exercise moderation, correct? So pass this wisdom to your daughters, pass this wisdom to the young women that you disciple. Okay, we continue. Challenging questions, just like in our previous videos. We pause and we consider, just between you and the Lord. Question that to ask ourselves, so we can examine and see if we truly exercise self-control and moderation in shopping and in the way we spend God's money. And it is His money, correct? He gives us ability to make wealth. He is the one that owns everything. We are just stewards. Do you want to be a profitable steward? That's a question to ask. Or do you want to be an unprofitable steward who wastes? Okay, question number 1. Does your husband lose daily by you frivolously wasting the family funds on vain things? Does your husband, is he a loser? Does he lose by having you as his wife because you just frivolously waste family finances? Another question. Can his heart safely trust in you in this area of your family finances? If you want to be a crown on his head, the answer to this question should be yes. He should be able to safely trust you. Have you been a crown on his head by contributing to the family's budget, or the rottenness in his bones by wasting it? Let the Spirit search your heart. So you can pause right now, let the Spirit search your heart and show you what He wants you to correct and release to Him in the area of your family finances, in the way you spend God's money. Pray for God to help you exercise moderation and self-control when you shop, and be determined to buy only what you need, correct? Not just let the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes control you at that moment. We buy only what we need, correct? Recently, I got lots of 50% coupons for the store that I just discovered in maybe 10 minutes from our store. And I never shopped there before, but I needed something, and I knew that it was a store where I can buy something specifically that I need. So I walked in, I made a purchase, and I received a lot of really 50% incredible coupons. So now I have this pack of these coupons, and it is extremely tempting, correct, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, to go to that store and maybe buy some more stuff using those coupons. But I came home with the coupons. I walked into my closet. It was a clothes store, and they also sell really nice lingerie for ladies. So I came into my closet, I opened my drawers, I examined everything what I had, and I realized with that purchase that I made, I have everything I need right now. There is not one thing that I need, one pair of undies, nothing, literally nothing. I have everything that I need. So what I'm doing, I'm actually planning to donate those coupons through Nextdoor, just offer it to somebody that maybe somebody will want it, because it's definitely a fabulous deal, correct? 50% off of your purchase. It's difficult to some degree, but on the other side, I'm exercising self-control, I'm exercising self-restraint, and I know that I actually have more than I need. In this country, believe me, we all have so much more than we need, correct? We are lavished with blessings, correct, in this country in comparison to other countries where people have, so little. So I'm exercising wisdom. The Spirit of wisdom is upon me. I am exercising self-control. I am exercising restraint, and thus obviously reflecting God. So we agree as wise women of God between us here, ladies, correct, that we buy what we need, and that's it. We just buy what we need. We pause, we examine our closets, we examine our life around it, and we realize that Let us be content. Godliness with contentment is great gain, correct? Do you want to gain? Yes, be content. Do I want to gain? Yes, and I choose contentment. And another important point, on the practical side here, I'm sure you will agree that the more stuff, so to say, we own, the less time, unfortunately, you will have for God. And why? Because you will have to take care of that stuff, and you will have to spend hours and hours on washing that other extra car that you thought that you need, extra stuff of shoveling, stuff in your closet from place to place of the clothes that you never wear. And even owning a bigger house is not always a blessing, because it will eventually, sometimes what happens is a bigger house starts possessing you more than you possess it. I don't know, I hope you understand what I mean, because of the time that it sucks from you and from your life, for taking care of it, correct? So we need to be careful. We need to examine our desires. We need to remember that we don't want to lose our life taking care of our huge mansions, correct? Okay. Another important point. Right now we are going to talk about self-control and moderation in watching TV and spending time on computer or on social media. And we will start with Psalm 101, verse 3. And I hope you have your Bibles nearby. Psalm 101, verse 3. I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. What a fabulous verse to actually pave that right thought pattern, that right thought path in our minds when it comes to exposing ourselves to useless, worthless, vain things. I will set no wicked thing. That thing, wicked, means without profit. That's a meaning. I'm giving you the definition of this word. I will set no wicked. Wicked, without profit, worthless, ungodly, good for nothing. And sometimes you think, but I'm not watching anything that's really bad. It might not be bad, but it is worthless. It's not doing anything for you intellectually, for your mind, for your soul, for your heart. It's a vain thing that is like a puff of air that is just going to disappear. It's worthless, without profit. It's not profiting your spirit in any way. It's not building up your spirit, or it's not building up your joy inside that the Word of God can give, or something that has to do with Christ, with God, correct? So we determine, you and I, my dear sister, from now on, based on this verse, that we will not set anything that is without profit, that is worthless, that is good for nothing before our eyes. So very often, women take pride in staying at home and being homemakers and not working, and I believe it's one of the best things that has ever happened to me. The opportunity that, thanks to God and thanks to my incredible husband, who gave me this opportunity to be a homemaker, correct? Because he works and provides, just as the Bible commands him to do, correct? Otherwise, he would be worse than an infidel if he would not provide. So, but very often women take pride in staying at home and not working, and some women have that opportunity also. When in reality, behind the closed doors, they're spending the majority of their time in virtual reality. So what happens is, theoretically, they're home only in theory, but in reality, they're somewhere else. In body, they're there, but their spirit is floating in that virtual reality for hours and hours. They're not at all at home, correct? They're not at home. They're mindlessly watching TV for hours, or waste their time on the computer for hours. Such wives, and I hope you're not one of them, I truly trust that you're not one of them, are rottenness in their husband's bones. They might look pious and godly in the church, but in reality, they are not filled with the Spirit of God, but filled with a garbage and empty, useless things that they have exposed themselves to on TV or on the internet. They have indulged in the unfruitful deeds of darkness, because this is exactly what it is. Watching TV mindlessly for hours and hours is indulging in the unfruitful deeds of darkness. And the thing is that God knows it. He sees you doing that behind the closed doors. And then those women wonder why they're not growing spiritually. But the reason is because they live on the regurgitated manna of the one little crumb, of the one little sermon that maybe they heard on Sunday in the church, that one little crumb. But throughout the week, they have wasted their life basically on vanity. And the question is that maybe that woman is you. I hope it's not. I truly hope that it's not. That I have an audience on my channel of really wise and godly and God-fearing women. But maybe you stumbled across this video and maybe that woman is you. So let us pause and ask ourselves some thought-provoking questions once again. We are really digging deep, correct? And seeing what's going on in our hearts. Let Christ shine the light of His light deep into our hearts. Do you carelessly waste precious hours you can never get back watching TV? Do you exercise moderation in your time on the computer? What good is there in watching TV operas or those TV seasons for hours and hours? And how does this profit your soul? You need to ask this question to yourself if you indulge in those things. How does it profit your husband? Is this helping him in any way? What good is it spending hours on social media? What good does it do for you, spiritually speaking? For example, for me, how do I and my husband deal with this thing? Because we are as tempted as you might be to do these things, correct? And we are. I mean, of course we are. So we dealt with it in a simple way. We still do own TV, but we don't own the cable. So we don't have the access to unlimited garbage flowing into our house for hours. And so you might ask, do we watch TV? The answer to that question will be once in a century. Extremely, extremely rare, usually in winter when on some cold, cozy night, I mean, when we want to just be cozy and we will watch maybe a nature documentary or historical documentary, something that will really build us up, or a Christian movie or something like that. And that's it. So that's how we deal with that. And when it comes to the internet, how I will not speak for my husband, but I will speak for myself how I deal with that. So I have separated 20 minutes per day specifically on, so to say, virtual world interaction. So to check my email and maybe check a couple of channels that I subscribe to on YouTube. 20 minutes a day, sometimes it actually takes less. It doesn't even take 20 minutes a day. So that's what I have set aside for my virtual time, which I strongly recommend you do too. So I have unsubscribed from all social media accounts. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have the Odnoklassniki account. I used to have those accounts, but I came to the conclusion that they took more, unfortunately, than they gave. So I have unsubscribed, and I don't really miss it per se, because now I'm more free to spend time for more productive and useful pursuits, such as recording a video for you. I truly believe it was worth it, just to cancel all those accounts. Let us ask ourselves a question, or let me ask you a question actually. If you struggle with coping out from reality by escaping into virtual world, I would like to suggest 2 simple steps for you to deal with the sin in your life. 2 simple steps. I'm not going to overwhelm you. Really simple, really basic, profound in their simplicity. First of all, I would encourage you to start praying for self-control and moderation to be activated by the Spirit of God in the sphere of your time management, in the sphere of your computer exposure, in the sphere of your TV exposure. And may I suggest a simple prayer to start this process with? A simple prayer. Psalm 90, verse 12. Psalm 90, verse 12. So teach us to number, and that word to number means weigh out, constitute officially, to allot. So teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. So this is what I would love you to pray from this time on. God, teach me to number my days so I can apply my heart unto wisdom. Pray for God to give you self-control and fill you with His Spirit, so you will not crave the substitute of this joy or whatever you're getting from TV or from the computer. Cry out to God to deliver you from your TV or computer addiction if you have one. And how do you know you have addiction? You know that you cannot control that exposure, so to say, to TV. You cannot control. It's out of control, correct? And that's what I call addiction. You cannot be a crown on your husband's head if you do not help him, but waste precious time and hours on computer or on TV. Remember, those shows, whatever you're watching, are not profiting you in any way. They are not. They're empty calorie food that is just a complete waste of life. It's a lie, just like eating junk food that leaves you hungry for more and more because of those empty calories you're consuming, correct? The analogy is just really close. Junk food, junk TV. Command your spirit to align itself with God's will for you, so you can be a productive woman, so you can have a fulfilling life instead of coping out from reality into the virtual reality, which is fulfillment in God. Align itself with God's will for you, which is fulfillment in God and in your role as your husband's helper and a mother. This is where true fulfillment is, correct? We shouldn't be lied to by the prince of the power of the air that is whispering our ear. Fulfillment is here on this TV program. Fulfillment is here on this computer, whatever, correct? We are not going to be lied to. Second nugget, correct, for us to overcome any addictions or pulls in the direction of wasting our time, correct? Second nugget. Limit your time on the computer to only what is absolutely necessary. Like, for example, checking your email or work. I know many of you work online. For example, just like I mentioned before, I have devoted specifically 20 minutes, correct, of computer time per day for checking email, going on the YouTube channels that I subscribe to. 20 minutes. Sometimes it's less. Outside of my working on the computer, of course, or doing researches for my studies or whatever, that's just work. So I'm not exposed to anything that's unproductive. And I'm determined, and I would encourage you, my dear sister, by the power of the Holy Spirit, to be determined not to exceed that limit, correct? By the grace of God, I'm determined not to exceed that limit, because that's all I need. I would encourage you to do the same. And, my dear sister, you and I, we do not want, this is what we're trying to avoid by the grace of God, the rottenness in our husband's bones by wasting precious hours of aimlessly watching TV and on the computer. Put the precious jewels of self-control and moderation in your husband's crown today by obeying the Lord in these areas that we have discussed. Remember that everything you do, everything who you are behind the closed door directly affects your husband. You want to put these precious jewels in his crown. As these virtues are built up and cultivated in you, which is the virtue of moderation and self-control, your husband's crown is going to shine brighter and brighter, which will bring more glory to the Lord and more glory to your husband. Okay, so this was our study for today. So I hope you enjoyed this two-part series or miniature study. And please let me know if you have any questions, and I will gladly answer them. God bless, and I will see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye.